Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com, and in this video we are going to take an updated look at the best secured credit cards on the market. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already. And if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So secured cards are used to help build credit. Probably most often they are used to try to rebuild credit if a person has had past credit problems. Sometimes people will use them if they are new to credit, sometimes if they are new to the country and trying to establish credit in the United States for the first time, they will use them as well. But probably people who are trying to rebuild credit are the biggest market for secured cards, and I'll talk a little bit about that sort of after we go through the list. Secured credit cards require a security deposit. You have to put some money down in order to get the credit card, and then you get a credit line. Usually that is the same as the amount that you have put down as that security deposit. You use the card just like any other card. You pay it each month, not with the money that you put for the security deposit, but with other money that you have. And each month that you use the card right, the on-time payments are going to get reported to the major credit bureaus, and this can be a way for you to build up your credit score and then hopefully get you to a place to get an unsecured credit card. That money is refundable that you put in as that security deposit. So when you either no longer want the card anymore or you are graduated to an unsecured card, they will give you that money back as long as you have paid off all of your bills. So that is the sort of, in a nutshell, what secured cards are. So let's look at which ones are the best. So the best secured credit card on the market, as it has been for quite a while, is the Discover It secured card. This is a card with no annual fee beyond that security deposit you have to put down, but of course that security deposit is not a fee. It will come back to you. So there's no annual fee on this card. Some secured cards do charge an annual fee. No annual fee, you get rewards. 2% back on your gas and restaurant purchases, 1% cash back everywhere else. There is a $1,000 cap per calendar quarter on those gas and restaurant purchases combined. So if you went beyond $1,000, you'd get that 1% on any further purchases there. At the end of the first year of having this card, there is the cash back match, which means everything you earned in rewards in the first year would suddenly get doubled. So you could think of those 2% and 1% categories as actually 4% on gas and restaurants and 2% on everything else. So pretty nice. Now, another nice thing about this card, and the thing that probably pushes it to the top of the list, is that Discover is known to try to graduate you to an unsecured Discover card as fast as possible. They say that after about 8 months is when they are going to start looking at your credit report, looking at your payments with this card and anything else on your credit report. If everything looks good, oftentimes they are going to send you that security deposit back, or maybe give it to you as a statement credit on your bill, and then you are going to be able to use the card in an unsecured fashion. You're not going to have to worry about that security deposit being there anymore. So that is pretty good. And some people say it happens even faster. Some people say they have graduated in as little as 6 months, but Discover sort of officially mentions 8 months as the time when they would first start looking at it. In terms of an interest rate on this card, 22.99% as I make this video. That's not very good, but the interest rates on any secured card aren't going to be very good. As long as you pay off your card in full every month, you won't have to worry about that interest rate because you will never pay interest. But that is fairly competitive actually with a lot of the other secured cards that we're going to talk about. So a lot to like with Discover: no annual fee, rewards, bonus, oftentimes a fairly quick graduation. The number 2 card on this list, the Bank of America Cash Rewards secured credit card. No annual fee, $300 minimum deposit in order to get the card. It has rewards. You get 3% cash back in a purchasing category of your choice from a list that Bank of America provides. So things like gas, restaurants, travel, etc. You choose where you want to get 3%. You get 2% back on grocery or wholesale club purchases, 1% back everywhere else. 23.99% interest rate, which again, not great, but sort of in line with a lot of these other secured credit cards out there. Now, in terms of graduating from this card to the unsecured version and getting that security deposit back, Bank of America a little more cloudy as to how long that might take, but they do say they are doing periodic looks at your situation, your payments with this card, as well as whatever else is on your credit report. A lot of people say that when they've had this card, it usually is about a year before it graduates, but then obviously you could be longer or shorter than that if you were to get this card. So probably takes longer than that Discover card, but it has some nice rewards, and if you graduate to unsecured, well then you have a credit card with Bank of America, one of the major banks here in the United States, and so that is a pretty nice place to be if you get bumped up. The number 3 card on this list would probably be even higher if it wasn't for the fact that not everyone can get their hands on it, and that is the Navy Federal Credit Union N Rewards Secured Card. So you have to be a member of Navy Federal Credit Union in order to get this card, which means you have to have either some sort of military tie or Department of Defense tie, whether you're actually in the military or Department of Defense, or if you are a family member or somehow you would qualify to be a member of this credit union. If you qualify, a no annual fee card, you put down at least $300 in order to get a security deposit of that same amount. The card has rewards. You get 1 point per dollar, or essentially 1% cash back on all of your purchases. The interest rate on this card, a little lower than the cards we've talked about, at 18%, at least as I make this video. And another thing that makes it very popular with many people is the fact that its graduation can happen fairly quickly. And in fact, there's sort of a 2-step process. After 3 months of having the card, Navy Federal Credit Union will look to see how you've been doing, and if you've been doing well, they may bump up your credit line. So let's say you put down $300 and everything's been going good for those 3 months, they may increase your credit line from $300 to $600 without you giving them any more money. After another 3 months, or 6 months in total, they would then start looking at you for a potential graduation to an unsecured card. And if they do graduate you, you would move from this card to the cash rewards card that they have that actually offers 1.5% cash back. So not only would you graduate, but you would graduate to a better card with more rewards. So those are the big 3 as far as I'm concerned. Now there are other secured credit cards from the big banks, including Capital One, Citibank, and US Bank. I think of all 3 of those as being a step down from the cards we just talked about. Capital One is sometimes a little dodgy in terms of how long it might take you to graduate or whether you will graduate at all. Citibank has a reputation for making you wait a whole 18 months before you could potentially graduate. The US Bank card, don't really know about the graduation so much, but not a very interesting card, no rewards. It's okay, but it's just there. Now beyond those top 3 secured credit cards, there are some other secured cards that make sense for certain audiences, maybe you, depending on your circumstances. The first card I'm thinking of is the Open Sky Secured Visa. This is a card with no credit check on the front end, which makes it appealing sometimes to people that have very bad credit, maybe people that have defaulted with multiple credit card companies, maybe even burned some of them in a bankruptcy and can't qualify for some of the other secured cards we're talking about. But it's actually not that bad of a card. So no credit check on the front end. It does have a $35 annual fee, which is not part of that security deposit, so you will pay that and not get it back. There aren't any rewards on the card, but the interest rate actually is better than the other cards we've talked about as I make this video. It's 17.39%. Now, the downside to this card is the fact that it never is going to graduate. You're never going to move from this card and get your security deposit back and then continue to use it as an unsecured card. So you then have to kind of go to another issuer. So this is like a stepping stone card. When you get approved for other cards out there, especially unsecured cards, then you eventually would close this card down and get your money back. But you're never going to have Open Sky send you your money back and continue to let you use this card. Still a pretty nice stepping stone, not very terrible in terms of what they are offering, even though they probably could kind of put the screws to some of the people that get this card. The Chime Bank Credit Builder card is a different kind of secured card and actually pretty attractive in some other ways. So in order to get the Chime Credit Builder card, you have to have a Chime Bank account, and there has to be some money in that account. So then once you have that account established, you can get the Credit Builder card. And the way it works is when you use the card to make purchases, the money to pay for those purchases sort of comes out of the money that you have in the Chime Bank account. Well, it actually does, but what they do is they put it to the side over the course of the month. And then when you get to the end of the month and the bill is due, all of the money for all the purchases that you have made has already been put aside, and then you pay off all those purchases with it. So you don't have to put down a different deposit exactly. You have a bank account where there is money in there, and the money is really just sort of being taken out of that bank account. So it functions more like a debit card in a lot of ways, except it also reports to the major credit bureaus where most debit cards are not going to. So it sort of acts like a debit card, but it really is a secured credit card. And so it is kind of a cool model, and it has been fairly popular. I think we will see more of these types of cards coming down the line. A few other secured cards to mention here. One is the self-secured credit card. This is sort of an offshoot of the self-credit builder account. So if you already have a self-credit builder account, maybe this is something that you would be interested in because it sort of uses the money in your self-credit builder account as the security deposit for the secured card. But if none of that makes any sense to you, then you probably don't really need to look at this one because I'm not really all that much of a fan of it. We have done a separate video on it. You could go check that out if you are more interested. But if you already have one of the accounts, well, then maybe this would make sense as another way to help build up your credit. A few regional banks to talk about if you're interested in researching secured cards further. I don't think their cards are any better than those top three we talked about, but still they might be worthwhile to you, especially if you already bank with one of these companies. One of them is TD Bank, the other First National Bank of Omaha, and then also Bank of the West has a secured card. Again, I don't think these cards are any better than those top three, but depending on how many secured cards you might want and what you can qualify for and what your banking relationships are, maybe one of those would make sense. So those are your best options for secured credit cards if you are going that route. I wanted to make a few points here at the end of the video, just in case you're still confused about secured cards or you're confused as to whether secured cards are really the route that you should be going. So in my mind, the people who are the main audience for secured cards are people that have had credit problems in the past and are trying to rebuild their credit. So they have had credit in the past and things didn't go so well, and now they're trying to rebuild their credit history, rebuild their credit score. Sometimes secured cards are used by people that are new to credit, have never had a credit card before, maybe someone new to the United States who is trying to establish credit here for the first time. But I don't necessarily think that secured cards are the first place to go if you are new to credit or new to the country and trying to establish credit, because there are some other options out there that you should probably try first. If you are new to credit, you could go to some of the major banks and possibly get an unsecured card for your first card. So Capital One or Discover oftentimes are more willing to work with people that are new to credit, especially if you have a consistent income. Even some of the other issuers would potentially work with you for your first card as well. So I would say don't go straight to secured cards just because you don't have any credit history. If you're new to the country, same thing. You potentially could find other cards. There are cards specifically sort of geared toward people new to the country, things like the Jasper MasterCard or perhaps the Petal credit card, which is for people that don't have a credit history. So you could try there first before you go the secured route. And then finally, I wanted to give a little bit more detailed explanation of how secured credit cards work, just in case the quick version on the front end of this video was a little confusing to you. So a secured credit card requires a security deposit be put down on the front end. So you give the bank a security deposit, they give you a credit line equal to the amount of that security deposit. The deposit is a security for the bank in case you don't pay, which is why the amount of the security deposit and the amount of your credit line are generally going to be the same. If you don't pay, they just take that money that you gave them as a deposit and that pays off the balance. So it's a no-lose situation for the bank. So they have the security deposit, they give you the credit card, you use it just like any other credit card. When the bill comes each month, you pay it off with other money, not that security deposit money, and then you just continue to use it. And when you make your payments on time, that gets reported to the credit bureaus, and this can help you build up a better credit history. Now, as long as you continue to do the right things over time with that secured card and you are getting good reports to the credit bureaus, well, this can help your credit score go up, assuming you're doing everything else right with your credit. Over time then, that is when the bank might look at you and say, well, this person is being responsible. Maybe we'll give them that security deposit back and they can continue to have this card as an unsecured card, or maybe we will graduate them to a different card that we have. And so that is sort of the goal. Build your credit and graduate to an unsecured card. And so the security deposit and the whole secured credit card route is sort of a stepping stone to get you where you want to go if you have bad credit or if you are trying to establish credit and you are having trouble doing it. So that's it. Any other questions I can answer in that comment section below. Feel free to ask whatever about secured credit cards. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.